messaging.
I think that what we don't want is to have all conversations pivot towards what happened on Saturday. It was a horrific act. And we are, by the grace of God, continuing forward with this convention. And President Trump is here on the ground in Milwaukee and is going to be here.
It was clearly not a good weekend for Kimberly Cheadle. The director of Secret Service is in the eye of the storm after the gunman armed with an AR-style rifle was able to get close enough to shoot and injure former President Trump in a devastating failure of one of the agency's core duties. Voices calling for her resignation are growing. Director Cheadle has put a focus on diversity.
We need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
Images from Saturday's incident show the female agents were too short to properly shield the Republican frontrunner once he stood up. Mr. Trump stands 6'3" tall. As Mr. Trump was loaded into his getaway vehicle, one of the female agents was seen struggling to holster her pistol. Former Secret Service agent Charles Marino says this is what happens when diversity takes precedent over qualifications.
The director is going to have to articulate this, especially to Congress, and that is in an effort to diversify the workforce at the Secret Service, what the director's calling the 30 for 30 program, 30% females by 2030. The director is going to have to demonstrate that she has not lowered standards within the agency to achieve what she wants to do on the diversity side. This is going to have to fall on her. And that's why one of the areas I said is going to be under great scrutiny here is the hiring process and the training process. Have people met the standards across the board, both from a physical standpoint and an intellectual and experience standpoint to achieve the mission.
A pro-family activist and former presidential candidate believes God's intervention saved Donald Trump from an assassin's bullet on Saturday, just like he did for Ronald Reagan more than 40 years ago. Chad Groening has more.
On the heels of the failed assassination attempt on his life, former President Donald Trump is in great spirits as the Republican National Convention gets underway in Milwaukee. On his Truth Social site, Trump wrote, quote, "It was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening." He went on to post, quote, "In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win." Gary Bowers, chairman of the Campaign for Working Families. He remembers when President Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981.
I was working for him at that time, and he missed death by a millimeter. We all remember that he joked with the doctors as he was being brought into the hospital room. But what I also recall is that after it was over and he recovered, Ronald Reagan was absolutely convinced, just like Donald Trump is convinced, that the hand of God saved him.
And Bauer thinks both men were spared to fulfill a higher calling.
Reagan believed God saved him because God wanted Reagan to bring down godless communism. And I believe Donald Trump, if indeed it was God's hand that saved him, and I believe it was, has the job of bringing up the United States of America.
I'm Chad Groening.
With around 270,000 homes and businesses still without power in the Houston area almost a week after Hurricane Beryl hit Texas, Governor Greg Abbott says he's demanding an investigation into the response of the utility that serves the Houston area. More news online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Is God calling you to ministry? It's time to multiply your capacity for ministry with an affordable degree. The Bachelor of Arts in Christian Ministry at Wesley Biblical Seminary is the degree for you. When God called you to ministry, He called you to preparation. This degree is the education that you need to put all the pieces together for an amazing life of ministry. You will graduate with a confidence for ministry that is backed up by your competence in the scriptures, theology, and ministry. Come learn with a trusted seminary that will help you become a faithful leader. Learn more at wbs.edu.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network.
live radio show here today on Monday, July the 15th, 2024. I'd like to talk about, so we're going to play a lot of music today because just an uneventful news day. Of course, that was ultimate sarcasm because we are wall to wall with news.
Dramatic
Yes.
things happened over the weekend, as most of our listeners.
And this morning,
Yes.
too. So Tim Wildman here with Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Hey, good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Fred Jackson.
Good morning, sir.
And joining us in studio is Chuck Bond. Chuck is Assistant Director of Security Operations here at American Family Association. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, gentlemen.
We're going to invited Chuck in to talk about what took place on Saturday with the attempted assassination of former President Trump, because you have a lot of years of experience in police work. And what are those?
Well, 35 years of experience. I've had the opportunity to serve in law enforcement, and some of my focus has been as a protective security specialist with contracting with the Department of State, providing mobile security in high threat situations and security for our U.S. dignitaries.
So we want to talk to you about what happened Saturday from a police/law enforcement perspective.
Yes, sir.
But before we do that, Fred, the big news this morning is what?
Breaking news this morning out of Florida. A federal judge there has dismissed the Trump classified documents case. Many people saying this was the one that was perhaps left the president most vulnerable legally. But the judge in that case this morning, U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon, saying that in her opinion, and it was a 93-page opinion, she said the special counsel in that case was appointed unconstitutionally. And I'll just read a little bit of it here.
No, read all 93 pages.
The framers gave Congress a pivotal role in the appointment of principal and inferior officers. The role cannot be usurped by the executive branch or diffused elsewhere. In other words, she accepted the arguments from Trump's lawyers that the special counsel, Jack Smith in this case, was appointed by the administration, the executive, and Congress has to be involved with these appointments. They have to fund it. And she found problems with all of that. And so she has dismissed this case, the special documents. This is the documents found at Mar-a-Lago.
This is interesting because I had not... Abraham Hamilton III, we were in a meeting with him this morning. Abe, of course, is host of the Hamilton Corner in the afternoons here, 5 to 6 o'clock Central Time, and he's a constitutional lawyer. And so basically what he said was what Judge Cannon, the federal judge in this case, said was that she is not dealing, this has nothing to do with the, quote, merits of the case, okay? This is her saying, and after it was explained to me, and I agree with it, that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is an extra constitutional office of the federal government. And if the federal government, under the Justice Department, is going to prosecute somebody, in this case Trump, then you can't farm it out. You have to have a U.S. a U.S. attorney or some other official that's accountable inside the Justice Department. Am I explaining it right?
I think it has to. Now, I have not read the ruling from Judge Eileen Cannon, but I think the main point, as I have understood it this morning, and again, this is breaking news, that Congress has to be involved in this because Congress has the constitutional authority to appoint, right there in Article 1, to appoint judges and adjunct positions. And so now I do not know whether or not this means, Cannon's ruling, that the executive branch can no longer appoint special prosecutors. I don't know.
Well, it's her opinion,
right?
And she's a federal judge, So, I mean, there may be another federal judge that disagrees with that somewhere.
It's kind of it's strange, not strange. I think it's good that after the Supreme Court ruling in the Chevron case, saying, listen, Congress has a constitutional job to do in overseeing what we, call these alphabet organizations. Congress has to oversee that. Congress has to pass laws.
Yes.
You can't, in other words, you have to follow constitutional duties. It almost sounds like Judge Cannon is kind of saying the same thing.
Right.
Listen, the Constitution does not allow the executive branch to infringe on congressional authority under the Constitution.
Yes. Also, and then we'll move on to what happened Saturday. But the big news this morning is that the federal judge in the documents case in Florida has dismissed the case because she says the special prosecutor's office is unconstitutional. And if you guys remember back, we've had these special prosecutors, I don't know how many situations we've had those in, but we remember. But the one that was so egregious to me was when Robert Mueller, the former FBI director, was appointed by, who was he appointed by to investigate Trump? Anyway, who was he appointed by? Was it
Well, the
was
new
it Jeff Sessions?
the new Attorney General under President Trump, Jeff Sessions, recused himself, and then a body, a group of lawyers
At the FBI,
who we are told had
or the Justice Department.
Democrat Party leanings, they appointed Mr. Mueller.
Right. So Jeff Sessions recused himself, and of course that's when he and Trump went sideways. But but I was pointing out the most egregious part of this. That's when Mueller, special prosecutor, seemingly had unlimited resources to go after Trump on the Russia, and then he hired a bunch of Clinton supporting lawyers.
17 lawyers
To do that. And I'm going like, this is not fair. And this is not